Great. Well, welcome everyone. We really appreciate you joining us. It's 1 p.m. Eastern here in Washington, D.C., where I'm standing. I'm Fiona McCauley, the founder and CEO of the Wild Network, and we really appreciate you all joining us this week for the Women in Global Development Leadership Week. The theme of all of our sessions, the overarching theme, is leadership in a time of crisis. And I feel that our speaker today, Sharon Melnick, is particularly well suited to be sharing her experience and her experiential format with us in today's session. So Dr. Melnick is a leading speaker and executive coach who helps women create next level success and resilience in their companies and communities. She's the author of Success Under Stress, Powerful Strategies Women Leaders Can Use to Stay Calm and Confident and Create Opportunities in Time of Crisis. And that sounds like many of the women that I know in the global development sector: calm, confident, and always creating opportunities for others. So Sharon, thanks so much for being here with us today. We really appreciate your time and the energy, and I'd love to hand over to you now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Are we good on the sound?
I think I hear you. You're very clear.
Fantastic. So Fiona McCauley, I just want to thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here with you. I'm a girl fan of the work that you are doing and how you're supporting all of you who are on the front lines. I think, in this time of pandemic, it's showed us really that we are all connected, right? And that we are all in it together in terms of supporting each of us to be at our best. And so it's really an honor for me to support you in doing the important work that you're doing. I know all of you are kind of tireless and dedicated and role models for everyone around you. And thanks for the opportunity to give back. So let's just kind of start with some basics here. When we're talking about experiencing stress, experiencing challenges, we only experience this kind of stress when there's aspects of a situation that feel out of our control, right? It is the out of controlness, if you will, that activates a stress reaction. And of course, in these times, there's so many things that are feeling out of our control. And I think that that's leading to, a heightened sense of emotion. Some of us are concerned, scared, for our health. Some of us are concerned about an unknown future. And even though we're all going through this common experience, every one of us is really having kind of a unique experience that's very personal to us. I know some of you might be sheltering with other people and just feel like, oh, I just need space, like I need my own time, and so you want to know how to find that mental calm within. Others of you maybe might feel more lonely and more yearning for connection. And so I just want to or hope to be able to speak to all of your experiences across the spectrum. And please feel free to be writing in about the unique challenges that you're facing in these times. And we'll talk together about how we can support you and how you can show up as your best self and really help your company or your community kind of transform for the future. So I just wanted to kind of start by talking about this idea that you only experience stress when there's aspects of a situation that feel out of your control, because immediately that puts our attention on the more you can control, the less stress and discomfort you are going to feel in the situation. So that's really where we want to start. And this is kind of like a mindset to help you go through these times. You want to be thinking, like, every challenging situation, I know that there's on numerous fronts right now for you. I want you to immediately call to mind this idea. And this diagram really kind of requires you to sort out what are the aspects of the situation that you can control. And I call this your 50%, what you can control. and sort that out, distinguish that from the aspects of the situation that you can't control, below the line, kind of the other 50%. Now, in these days, there's going to be plenty of things that are below the line, right? You know, decisions that are beyond your control, projects that you were spearheading maybe that have been stalled out for now. Maybe it's the personality of the people who are around you and the way that they're not keeping things kind of neat or doing things the way that you would want, or maybe they're snapping and creating that kind of emotionality. It's the fear of the unknown, right? It's the maybe not feeling safe. I mean, there are just so many things in these times. But here's what I want you to get, is that any moment that you focus your attention on matters that are below the line, right? Even if it's politics, weather, you will, by definition, activate a stress reaction. And not only that, what's really important for us as women is that any time that you focus on things that are below the line that you can't control, you leak your power. You leak your power. It's just, shh, you leak your power. And we all know what that's like, that feeling that you're deflated, that feeling like you're kind of hijacked off of your best course, that feeling like you can't kind of have the impact that you want. And it's so important for us as women to kind of stay in our power, stay in our center, stay true to our purpose and the contribution that we are here to make, right? Because you as a woman, when you are in your power, you raise everyone around you. So what we want to be doing is that we want to be focusing our attention on matters that are above the line, what we can control. We want to really maximize that. And there's actually so many things that are within your control. We're going to be kind of getting started on a toolkit for that today. But so as not to overwhelm you, I know you're already up to here, is I want you to just think of this as kind of one thing to remember. And I call this the 50% rule. And the 50% rule is be impeccable for your 50%. Now, I'm not saying you have to be perfect, and I'm not saying you have to be a control freak, because that would be trying to control 100% of the pie. What I'm saying is put your time and your energy and attention into being effective at the things that you can control, growing the abilities within your own self to be even more effective at the things that you need to be doing, like influencing or taking care of your own self, or dealing with your own emotions and moving them through your system and understanding yourself and your reactions, or really defining what's the contribution that you are here to make and how could you be using this time to step up, right? And to be even more visible, or figure out where you can create more value and not waiting to ask for permission, but saying this is a need and I'm going to step up and I'm going to be the one who kind of, leads other people, right? I'm going to be the one who kind of masters my own mindset. And if I start getting into fear, then I know that there's ways that I can start thinking differently in order to keep myself optimistic, right? So these are all examples of being impeccable for your 50%. Before you ever allow yourself to drain your energy or your power on feeling frustrated about what's going on around you. And already, if you just like really, really take this to heart, it should feel empowering for you. So Fiona, I'd love to just hear if anyone wants to put into the chat, like, do you resonate with this? Is this like, yeah, I commit to this, like I want to take this on? Because if so, I want to hear from you in the chat. And I might even sort of say like, who wants to take the pledge? Like, who's like, yes, this is the way I want to live my life because every role model I have lives this way. So like, okay, like raise your right hand, and like, I pledge and to be impeccable for my 50%. Are we in? Okay, I see some hand claps going. Awesome. Okay, good. So then anything that we start to talk about and challenges that you want to raise to me, bring it on. But we're always going to start by asking, the first question is like, okay, so how can you be impeccable for your 50%? And of course, influential in the other 50%. Okay, so what do we even mean by this? What can we control in these days? Well, let's start talking about that. And I want you to all appreciate that you create the weather around you. As a leader, you create the weather on your team. For many of you, you have the opportunity to create the weather in your household or whoever you are sheltering with. In every interaction, you can create the weather. So how do you need to be showing it? Like, how do you, need to kind of deal with yourself in order to create the weather that you want to be experiencing in your life? That's what we want to be talking about now. Even when it feels like there's not so many things that you can control, there's always, always, always 3 things that you can control. You can control your own physiology, like you can find that calm within. You can control your own psychology. You can believe in yourself. You can know how to keep yourself optimistic. You can keep yourself in kind of a growth mindset, right? You can always ask the question, how might this be happening for me, not to me, right? So these are examples of how you can control your own psychology, and you can control your own performance or your own problem solving, right? In terms of how you are interacting with others, or how you are influencing, or how you are managing your own time. So there are actually so many things that you can control. And that's really what we're here to help you to kind of practice and appreciate going forward, so that you can be impeccable for your 50% and you can feel empowered to create the weather around you. And, this is really like how I think about it, is that it's not about stress management, it's about self-management. And what we're going to be doing today is starting to build a self-management toolkit so that you can show up as who you want to be, no matter what's going on around you. And then you can start to move the energy and create the interaction and have a vision that's going to have other people following you towards the world that we want to be living in. So what I thought that I would do today, Fiona, is just kind of take you through a little bit of a tour of tools that you could use in each of these areas. How does that sound?
I think that sounds great. And just so you know, a number of people on the chat have said they're taking the pledge. And folks, if you have any questions at all or comments, you're welcome to include that in the chat. And Sharon will be checking in with me from time to time, and I'll just make sure that we bring your questions forward.
Perfect. Okay, so let's begin. So the first thing that I want to go over is about your physiology, because it's kind of the basis, right? Is that especially in these times of heightened alert, and we're fearful and we're exhausted, or we might be experiencing grief, or any emotions along the spectrum. My mentor, Regina Thomaschauer, she has a saying that's really one of my favorite phrases. And she says, as women, we want to be playing all 88 keys of our emotional piano, right? Because there's power in that. And so we want to just kind of know that we might be feeling kind of a full spectrum of experiences these days, and we just want to feel a little bit like kind of equipped to deal with them. So let me say a few things about kind of how to balance yourself physiologically. So this first thing that I want to talk about is that, it's our nervous system that we have to deal with all the demands that are coming at us throughout the day. And our nervous system is made up of 2 parts. We have an on button, the sympathetic nervous system, and this gives us the ability to kind of have focus and energy and solve problems and kind of run to thing. And that's the on button. We also have an off button, which gives us access to calm and to rejuvenation. And, you know, in human evolution, in our cave woman times, we were more balanced between the on and the off button, right? So we might be protecting ourselves from a woolly mammoth and, you know, cooking and taking care of children and tending to the fire, you know, during the day. But then at night, we'd be in a dark cave, resting and digesting and maintaining our immune system. And the way that we live today, we're not balanced at all. We are always on, right? And especially in these times, my bet is that a lot of you, I've heard, are kind of working harder than ever. A lot of you in global roles, you're working kind of around the clock. You know, a lot of people are depending on you, looking, you know, to you, kind of hanging on to you to be their pillar. And so I want you to kind of appreciate what it's like to be always on and see what we can do to help you kind of have a little bit more of that calm that you get from the off button. So this slide here really I want to go over with you what happens. There's kind of a mode of thinking and feeling and performing when you're using your on button. So it's all about like what's right in front of you, like either a work email or the person who needs you or kind of the distraction or, you know, like yet another thing that's kind of right in front of you that you need to deal with. And so your on button, very, very helpful. We absolutely need our on button. It's what enables us to get everything done that you do throughout long days and nights. But it's really very reactive. It's like, what do I have to do with right now? It's what's right in front of me. And our responses tend to be like, okay, like, what do I have to do to just kind of get through this? Like, do it and kind of get on to the next thing. It's the mode is kind of like surviving your to-do list is how it feels. And what you want to know is that when you're in this mode, you can only reference the past in order to know how to solve problems. And my bet is that every one of you who's working on global development, you're always trying to think about how could we do this better, more efficiently, easier? Who else could we bring in? What's, you know, an innovative, you know, programming that we could do here? How can we connect with people who, you know, are across cultures from us? So it's really important for you to be able to not only reference the past, but to have new ideas and to innovate for the future. But when you're in that, like, just kind of push, go, go, you can only reference the past. Your brain is just kind of like well-worn grooves, like, have we done this in the past? And also in this mode, everything gets filtered through your fear centers of the brain. And in those centers, it's very focused on like survival, you know, so it's all about like, how is this going to affect me? And I'm just very like, I'm afraid, this feels bad, I don't know what's going to happen to me. Like that, it's kind of like, that's where everything gets filtered through. And also in this mode, it sets you up to sort of collect information. So things like listening to the news or being all over socials and, you know, and just like feeling like you can't even like stop yourself from it. But it doesn't really enable you to kind of digest that information and to have like your own thoughts about it or creative thoughts about it or to kind of put it to the side. So you can see the kind of the picture that I'm building here, right? Is that it's just like a lot of bombardment. And so you absolutely need your on button, but if you're only using your on button and not your off button, you're kind of depriving yourself of your genius button and your calm zone. So what we really want for optimal functioning, for you to sustain yourself in this, you know, I mean, it's gonna be a marathon, right? And so to sustain yourself, you really want to balance the on and the off button. Your off button gives you access to seeing the bigger picture. It gives you more perspective, right? It enables you to kind of connect the dots, have new ideas, tap your intuition. It enables you to be more objective, like, okay, what's really facts here and what's like, you know, my friend or spouse or someone like just getting all, you know, kind of going off on their own tangent here. It enables you to be more strategic. And so I think you can see that what you really want is to balance the on and the off button. Does that make sense, Fiona? So what I wanted to do was maybe give you some tools that you could use to balance the on and the off button, because then you have access to sort of like, what are my bigger ideas? Like, what's my vision, right? And especially in this time, your ability to have vision is really important, right? So you probably have ideas about how things could be or should be in your community or in your company, and you really want to use this as an opportunity to bring those ideas forward. You know, you have natural strengths as a woman leader that it seems like we're finally valuing more, right? You know, your ability to be empathic and to connect, to have the bigger picture ideas, and to get things done on the project, right? So you really want to balance that on and that off button. You want to be looking for opportunities where you can bring value. You want to be able to see around the corners so that you can bring forth that innovation. You can't do that in the like go, 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 go mode or in the fear mode. So here are some strategies that you can use. The first one is that instead of going through your day where it's just like, I'm just doing tasks all day, surviving my to-do list, instead you want to go through in a pattern we call the sprint recovery pattern. So a sprint is, let's say, a 60 to 90 minute time period that you schedule, where you're putting out kind of your best, most intense concentration, really bringing forth your all. And then following that with a brief period of recovery, right? In which you kind of replenish with high octane, physical, emotional, spiritually connected, mental energy, right? So you feel like you're sustaining yourself. You're feeling like you're regenerating yourself along the way. So you feel like you can be kind of refueling others along the way as well. So really what the research from the Energy Project shows us is that the average one of us, we go through a day and it's kind of like we start our day, let's say at 100% of our mental and emotional capacity. And it's just a gradual degradation. Like by the time you're at 5 p.m., you're just like about 30 to 40% of your mental capacity and energy level. That's like the average person. But when you go through your day with like a sprint and a recovery approach, so let's say you do like a really good period of being productive or like really being there for others. And then let's say mid-morning, you take, even if it's like just a 3-minute break, okay? You do some deep breathing. You do some yoga stretches. You, if you're in an environment where the weather is nice, you know what I mean? Maybe you take a walk around, you know, wherever your area is, and you do that even just for a few minutes, or you just get some sun on your face. Or maybe you're someone who appreciates aromatic essential oils. You know, maybe you have, like, if you're feeling very kind of, you know, tired and foggy, then you breathe in some aromatic essential oils. And you can purchase these, or these are things that you could make from, like, things that you might have spices, you know, around the house, or the things you might grow in a garden. And, you know, you could breathe in something like, you know, mint or lemongrass or something like that, you know, that's very stimulating for you. Or if you're feeling very frenetic and kind of overwhelmed and you just need to calm, then you could breathe in like lavender or vanilla or cinnamon or something like that. It's very calming for you. So you could listen to music, right? You could listen to a song that gets you into the mood that you want to be in. Dance breaks, yes, the best. You can do it on your own. You could do it in community with other girlfriends. You could do, you know, a quick 5-minute chat with a girlfriend or a colleague or a family member or whatever, where it's just a check-in, and you can kind of just get off your chest maybe something that you've been feeling that's been kind of, you know, getting your attention off. You know, you can take a little break with a pet if you have, or, you know, farm animals if you're, you know, nearby. I mean, just, but you could see the trend that I'm talking about. Something that's like when you're on, and when you're off, you're really detaching and you're replenishing, and then you're back at it. And same thing, another, let's say 90 minutes, and then you do another, like eat mindfully, maybe at lunchtime, and then you're back at it. And what the research shows is that when you go through your day with this sprint recovery pattern, come 5 p.m., you're about 60 to 70% of your mental capacity and energy level, so almost double, and with no sacrifice of productivity because you've been really intentional. So rather than like numbing out or just feeling like you were exhausted or all the thoughts were crashing in your head, you were like, okay, each time I did that, I took a break, I reset, I replenished, I'm back at it, and I can sustain myself.
Sharon, I have a question that springboards off exactly what you're sharing. So this is from Jonah, who says that they're having difficulty switching to the off button.
Of course you are.
Yeah, and then lots of people saying, yeah, me too. And just building on that question, maybe the other part of that question is somebody saying like how to have a chance to be off when the expectation from work is that you're always on.
Okay.
Particularly in this time of crisis. So maybe the question's about how to do it yourself, but then especially when the environment is sort of putting pressure on you to be on.
Love it. Okay, let's take each of those in turn. Okay, so first of all, are you buying into this idea of kind of like oscillating on and off, right? I'm hearing that, which is excellent. So let's talk about some ways to press the off button. Okay, so one of them is this sprint recovery. You got to develop your own repertoire of kind of these off techniques. Let me tell you what's like super easy, user-friendly, is that your mind follows your breath. Your mind follows your, so if you want instant calm, instantly change your breath. Okay, so here's one thing that we can do. I call this the mental reset breath, and you can do this even for 2 or 3 minutes. And what it does is it sort of enables you to kind of balance that off button. It gives you like a mental vacation. And I'm wondering if all of you would like to try this and actually demonstrate this together. And I want you to see how short a time period it takes in order for you to press that off button. Okay, so you're up for this. Let's demonstrate it together. So I call this the mental reset. This is a 3-part breath. So you're gonna breathe in through your nose, you're gonna hold, and then you're gonna exhale. You're gonna inhale, you're gonna hold, you're gonna exhale, all in and out through your nose. You know how to do this. Okay, so now if you wanna put your hands together in this position, it just can help. It balances the left and the right, and all this really calming energy you're gonna build, it just helps to keep it within you. So are you ready to kind of, if I count this out for you? Yes, you're ready to do that? Okay, fantastic. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to count to 5. So I'm going to count, inhale 2, 3, 4, 5, and then hold 2, 3, 4, 5, and then exhale 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, close your eyes if you feel comfortable. I'm just going to give you even more of a sense of relaxation. And I just want to check, Fiona, are there any kind of questions that we can answer before we get going? Okay, I don't hear you.
The question, Sharon, your call if you want to answer it now or after. No questions around the breathing yet, but we do have a question around, to quote Mayu, she says, I feel difficulty in setting time for myself.
Yes.
Feel so obligated to others around me.
Yeah, so we're going to get to that next. First, I want to give you the experience of having calm, and then you'll be more motivated to get it for yourself. Okay. Fantastic. So, okay, so let's begin, everyone. Ready? Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale all the way out. And inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale all the way out. And inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale all the way out. And inhale from your belly and hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale all the way out. And inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. And hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale all the way out. And inhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. And hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale all the way out. And inhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale all the way out. And inhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. And exhale all the way out. And as it feels comfortable for you, you can just kind of reorient your attention. And let's hear from you in the chat. So Fiona, how do you feel now? How are people saying they feel now?
Well, I feel like so much more relaxed than I was 2 minutes ago. So.
And do you know how long we did that for? That was like 5 seconds less than 2 minutes. That was like a little less than 2 minutes.
Wow.
So you can see really like what a mental vacation you can have, right? Because what happens is that when we're using that on button, the way I talk about it's kind of like drunk driving at work. You're kind of like, no, I'm fine. No, I'm fine. Fine. Like no, you're not. Like you're in time famine. You feel like you don't have 2 minutes. Everything is a priority. You can't prioritize. But that's just a function of that on system. So when you press that off button, it could give you more perspective, right? Is anybody more like clear in their mind, more like relaxed, more calm? Are these kinds of things you're seeing?
Yeah, well, so G. Wallish wrote, definitely more relaxed, exclamation mark.
Awesome.
And Tracy wrote, feels great, exclamation mark.
Awesome.
I'll chime in by saying, felt like 2 minutes well spent for me.
Well, no, there you go. And it's for free, okay? So can you see the opportunity here? So this needs to become like part of your day, like mid-morning, mid-afternoon, even before you go to sleep. Fantastic. And really, really helpful for you. Now, what's very important is that you actually do this. That's why I had you demonstrate it, because I know if I said breathe, you'd be like, yeah, but I don't have time. So what I've done for you is I'll give you a link at the end. And when you go to that link is that I have I've counted it out for you. I have an audio where I count it out for you for 3 minutes. So you have no excuse. Essentially, all you have to do is click it, and then I just count it out for you. Okay? So you'll be able to get that at the end. Now, let me just say a few more things. For those of you who are very working all the time and there's all this pressure, you probably are also waking up in the middle of the night with your thoughts racing about your worries about the future or your to-do list. And if that's the case, it's simply a sign of an overactive on button. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what you can do about that is, again, there's another way of pressing the off button. So left nostril breathing, you're going to cover your right nostril. You're going to breathe exclusively through your left nostril. Now, why do we do this? Because it activates the vagal nerve. That's the chief nerve of the relaxation system. Okay, and so you got it right. When you do that, it should just make you feel kind of like it just activates that relaxation. So you should start to feel that kind of like, okay, I'm turning my head off and I'm going back to sleep. Yeah. Now, what's really very, very important about this is that you really have to get it, you have to do it correctly, because if you get the wrong, if you cover the wrong nostril, like it has totally the opposite effect and just like get up and go to your desk, because like you're not going back to sleep. So it's funny. I actually have this in Success Under Stress. It's on page 68, and sometimes people put it by their bedside, and they're like, if they wake up and they're like, which nostril was it? So you have that as a resource for you. Okay. So here's some things you can see that you can start to have a self-management toolkit, right? Of like when you can be on and when you can be off. These are some ways of getting started. And so here's that link, successunderstressbook.com. And that's where I have for you that 3-minute audio of where I count out for you to do the mental reset. And there's also like 4 or 5 other breathing strategies that are about how to push away fear and how to calm yourself down from anger so that you don't react. And there's like a little toolkit in there that can get you started. Okay, so now for those of you who are asking, okay, well, how do I do this in the middle of my crazy busy days when everyone is around me and everyone wants my time? I totally get it. And so here's where it's really, really important that you own your value, right? Because I want you to really appreciate, like, when you're at your best and when you're sustaining yourself and when you're coming from calm and you're coming from confidence, right? I want you to really, like, own how valuable that is for other people, so that will really motivate you to actually set boundaries and to take this time for yourself. And you also have to kind of train the people around you, of course, how to respect your time and how you can get what you need. So one exercise that you can do is, I call this the ideal day exercise. And so, you could do this with the people who you're sheltering with. You can do this on a team of people, whether you're global or whether you're, kind of in proximity, it doesn't matter. So the ideal day exercise is kind of like a facilitated exercise, and everybody in the household or in the team gives their collective input into, like, what do we want our culture to look like? What would an ideal day look like, right? And when everyone kind of feels like they have a voice, and then of course you can introduce the idea, be impeccable for your 50%, because and everyone feels like, like everyone has to do their part in order to make this kind of day or this kind of experience happen, right? Everyone has kind of skin in the game, because everyone, and I'll tell you, I mean, I've facilitated dozens of these things, and everybody wants the same thing. I mean, they want to, like, get the most meaningful work done, you know what I mean? Feel like they kind of, are going through it in a way that's kind of fun or sustaining themselves and, feeling valued and stuff. But it's really good to kind of get it out on paper, and then you just problem solve and you kind of reverse engineer, like, okay, well, in order to make that kind of day happen, what are we going to have to do? And what I would do is, you can educate people on the sprint recovery, kind of approach. You could start meetings with a mental reset breath. I've had tons of clients who've done that, right? And, like, well, I'll tell you, like, it goes way better, you know what I mean, when people start off, like, really, centered. But you can have those kind of discussions, and you could say, an ideal day for me, like, I need time to go for a walk or whatever. And then you can build your day around, like, I need 20 minutes or whatever it is, or I need time for whatever it is that's right for you. And then you kind of declare that. You, like, really own that and say, when I can do this, I'm really at my best. I can bring you my best. And then people have to problem solve, like, okay, well, if you're away for a half an hour at 3 p.m., you know what I mean? Then, like, how are the rest of us going to have to cover? Or, just those kinds of things. So, but an ideal day exercise, then everybody can talk about, how could we do the sprint recovery? Like, how could we respect one another doing that? How could we build that into our time and respect one another? So it's just like a really, really good, transparent discussion where everyone is in the service of the same kind of goals. Right? So you could do the ideal day exercise. And then one final thing that I'll go over is that, a lot of times what's happening when you're saying, people are pressuring me, or people are reaching out with ad hoc requests and distractions and interruptions. And so you can be impeccable for your 50%. No, you can't, like, stop them from distracting you, but what can you control? Your response, right? So you can do something that I call act on interruptions. Act on interruptions. And you can really think about, like, what is the contribution I want to make? What enables me to be at my best so that I can be wearing my oxygen mask, you know what I mean? And be there for others. And then you can think about, okay, so in order for me to kind of, have that time or that bandwidth, I can act on interruptions. And what this does is that it has you bucket these distractions and that come in, and rather than just, like, all day long, like, people are, kind of taking your time. I see Fiona going, yeah, okay, I relate to this. You can, so A stands for accept or allow. So make a short list of criteria. What are the interruptions that you would accept? Like, would be like, yes, I'm the person, this is as much a priority as anything I'm working for. Like, this is urgent according to my definition, which I have shared with everyone around me. right? So then if it falls in that, if it meets that criteria, yes, I want to give you my attention right now. And if it doesn't, maybe it's a C. Cut it off at the pass or curtail it. So I'd be reviewing all of my interruptions and distractions, right? And I'd be, like anything that's happening more than 2 or 3 times, you could put some sort of process or intake or automate it, or have people bundle their requests and come to you, you know what I mean? Or do a huddle so that people are not bleeding into your office all day long. You could have office hours for people who need you, for certain things. And I know that feels artificial if you're a manager, you want to be available, and it's all good, but just see if you can be steering people more into certain times of the day, or checking your emails certain times of the day, and it just, a lot of women leaders I know are doing their walk while they're talking, you know what I mean, to people who have questions. As long as you can get the, feel of kind of the natural, taking the deep breath and being outdoors or whatever it is, then do it. If you can't, then make it sacred time for yourself. And then T just stands for triage. So ask the person some questions about their situation, and like the emergency room nurse, you kind of make a plan, but you don't carry it out then and there. So you can sort of 30 seconds, you get the information. Can you talk to Fiona about this other thing? We need to have a talk through. Are you available on Friday morning? Okay, good. Now I'm back at it. Bye. Right? And so this is just some strategies that you can use to sort of, can you see that all of these, that there's actually more that you can control than you might think, right? And you can create the weather on your team. You can set these boundaries. You can think about, what is the contribution that I am here to make? And what do I need to do, right, in order to be at my best? And I think if you feel empowered in that way, then it's going to enable you to show up as who you need to be, enable you to have the bandwidth to stay connected to your vision, so that you could be bringing that vision and inspiring the people around you. And really, it all just comes from being impeccable for your 50%.
Sharon, Jill Chow at ACDI Voca has a comment. She says, I think as leaders, we tend to unintentionally set the wrong example in being on and available all the time.
Yeah.
The message to our teams that they have to be on all the time too, talking about how we work best, protecting our time is important. Leaders need the time off to be good, thoughtful leaders.
Yeah, and I'd be talking out loud and sharing that with people, what it feels like now that you're doing a mental reset 2 times a day, or what it feels like now that you take a walk for 20 minutes or whatever it is in the afternoon, and set that example. And I think a lot more transparency in communication. I'm sending this now, but it doesn't need to be back to me until, whenever, right? And it's like you create the weather in every interaction, and as a leader on the team and in your household and for everyone in your community. And so let that be an inspiration for you to really own your value, right? And to be impeccable for your 50%.
Fantastic. So I'm just going to mention to everyone that this is a 45-minute session. So Sharon will be signing off shortly. So just a final call if you have any questions or comments that you wanted to include, particularly, questions that you wanted Sharon to weigh in on. I love that breathing exercise, Sharon. And you were right. When you said, if I told you to breathe, you'd be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. That I feel like you maybe started a small habit with me there by just by having us all do it together. So thank you very much. That was definitely a sticky message that I'm taking away from this session.
The work you do is so important to so many people. And so, right, is that you want to make a strong foundation within yourself and together with one another. So thank you for your tireless dedication. You are making the world a world that we all want to live in. Thank you so much, Fiona. And all of you, go over to successunderstressbook.com so you can get that breathing technique as well as some of the others. And then that will enable all of us to stay in touch and follow up with me with any questions.
Thanks, Sharon. We're so grateful. And just to let you know, we have lots of comments coming in saying, excellent session. Thank you. Thank you very much. Very helpful. Many, many thanks. Really valuable 45 minutes. Excited to apply these suggestions tomorrow. So on behalf of the women and men of the global development sector, we're really grateful. Thank you for this time.
Become a member of the WILD community by registering for the Women in Global Development Leadership Forum happening virtually on October 26th. You can visit our website www.wildleadershipforum.org to register today. And a special thank you to our sponsors.